As the resistance against President Donald Trump continues to manifest in things like marches and rallies all across the country, Senator Bernie Sanders, who is currently holding his own very successful fight oligarchy rallies across the country, says, "Hey, look, that's great and all, but we, meaning politicians, really should be doing more." Now, Sanders recently sat down with HuffPost in an exclusive interview following a rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Friday. Here's what he said. Quote, "The American people, I think, not only want resistance to Trump, but I think they want what the Democratic Party in the last many years has not given them. And that is an agenda that speaks to the needs of the working class, because it's not good enough. Oh, well, Trump is a terrible guy. Fine. The American people understand that. What's your alternative? Why did Trump get elected? What do you have to say to a worker today who is making $14 an hour, who can't afford health care? Tell me what you have to say. What do you have to say to kids who would like to go to college, who can't afford to go to college?" Look, all of those are great questions. Okay. And yes, they need to be answered, because we would not have Trump if those material conditions had been better. Okay. If our political system wasn't completely broken and in service to the upper, top 0.1% of the country, then yeah, we wouldn't have somebody like Donald Trump in power at all. Remember, the government is currently more responsive to large donors and corporations than the majority of Americans. That's the reality. I mean, if we, the people, want something and it pulls extremely well, but corporate America doesn't want it, what do you think is going to happen? Corporate America is going to win. They win every single time. Okay. And when you have a government like that does not respond to the needs of the people, it's really easy for a demagogue to come in and point at all that stuff and go, I know what the real problem is. And then, of course, they'll go and blame immigrants and trans people. Okay. When that's not the issue at all. I mean, my grocery prices are not more expensive because of a trans person or an immigrant. Okay. They're not why I cannot afford health insurance. Okay. It's because of lobbyists, corporations. It is these, these industry groups and politicians that will fight against things like Medicare for all. Okay. Or even having a public option. They push back against that. Okay. The rest of the developed world has universal health care, but we don't. And it's a result of the donors. It's a result of politicians that have been purchased by the donors. 60,000 people die every year because they do not have health care in this country. You know what? My sister was one of them. She didn't have health insurance. She didn't go to the hospital when she had heart attack symptoms. Oh, it's just really bad indigestion. I can't really afford to go to the hospital, so I'm not going to go. I'm sure I'll be fine. She was not fine. This is a reality that so many people in this country have also faced. And it's not just about healthcare. It is about wages. Wages for working people are too low. I mean, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 still. While you have rents and mortgages that are way, way too high, none of this has been solved by Congress, and it won't be until we get the big donors out. That said, with the Democratic Party being at 27% approval right now, there has to be major changes. And unfortunately, we're not seeing any of those changes. Now, that said, Ian Smith, director of polling and analytics at the Democratic firm Navigated Research, said of this 27% approval rating, quote, "Voters don't necessarily trust that Democrats are going to stand up for them." Yeah, because they haven't. They haven't. Some, yes, sure. But nationally, the Democratic Party has been more or less serving the donor class, the owner donors. Okay, that's it. Now, I hope this will change because it needs to change. It needs to change badly. Okay, that said, Bernie Sanders he is actually starting to get more attention from members of the Democratic Party, but not in a negative way, which we're kind of used to. Okay. In fact, here's what Senator Chris Murphy said about Sanders in an interview last month. Quote, "We viewed people like Bernie as an outlier threat to the institutional Democratic Party," which explains a lot, by the way. Which explains why you had superdelegates, which explains why you had the party insiders just tilting the scale, okay, for people like, Joe Biden, okay, during the 2020 election, but also Hillary Clinton. So when he was running in those primaries, in both of those instances, you had a lot of institutional pressure. And yes, these institutions do have ways of putting their thumb on the scale for their preferred candidate. And that's exactly what they did. So now, this was part of that effort, right? And look, he even admits it. Yeah, they were a threat. They were a threat to the institution that spent $2 billion in this last election to lose to a reality show fascist. So let's be honest about that. But Murphy continued by saying that, yes, we originally thought that Bernie Sanders was a threat, when in fact what he was talking about, and still is talking about, is the crossover message, and it pulls Trump voters back into the Democratic coalition. Oh, imagine that. Democrats, are you finally seeing Bernie Sanders as an advantage instead of an enemy? That is really different than how you thought about Bernie in 2016 and 2020. It probably does help that he is not going to run for president again. Keep it real. He is no longer considered by many in the establishment as a threat. Okay. But here's the thing, though. Was he ever really a threat to the Democrats? No. He was only a threat to the establishment donors. The man was trying to help Democrats win. Okay, so they can help the people. But, as I said, the corporate donors would rather have Democrats that will lose, because with Republicans, they still will get their tax cuts and deregulation. And if the Democrat they back wins, then they're still probably going to get the things that they want. Okay. Now, that said, I want to go from Bernie to some of the attendees, okay, who spoke with HuffPost at Sanders' rally. And some of those people were like, look, the Democratic Party, yes, some of them are stepping up a little bit, but you got to be cautious there, right? Because some of that stepping up is more performative than anything. For example, Cory Booker, right? Cory Booker did a pretty impressive filibuster, but it actually wasn't a filibuster. Okay. Yes, he spoke on the floor for 25 hours? I mean, that is impressive. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I could sit there and talk for 25 hours, right? But that said, he wasn't really stopping any legislation. And then later on, he voted to confirm a Trump appointee and is, by the way, still supporting Israel's war on Gaza, which is really unpopular with the Democratic base. Most Democratic voters disagreed with the current policy in giving Israel money and weapons to do a genocide in Gaza. So, performative, absolutely. That said, a lot of the Democrats that are showing up to these rallies, and it's not just Democrats, by the way, a lot of people that are showing up to these rallies don't see any sort of real action from the Democrats. In fact, Cameron Clulow, a steel worker from York, says some of them aren't doing jack. Democrats that are also taking corporate money are just as bad as Republicans. You can't be resisting Trump if you're going to do the same thing that he's doing. Oh, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And by the way, like, that extends to people like John Fetterman, okay, and Chuck Schumer, who is sending some very strongly worded letters, but not really doing anything else. Now, Victoria Slobodian, a social worker from Camp Hill, said the Democrats in action is basically allowing all the bad stuff that Trump is doing to happen. Quote, I am seeing more people speaking out now, but had they done that in the beginning and had a strong stance, I really feel like it wouldn't be as bad as it is now. Those Democrats were following like the James Carville, strategy, if you can call it that, which is to basically do nothing and watch Donald Trump hang himself by his own petard, basically. That's not going to work. You actually have to do something. It's not just Trump bad. We all know Trump bad. You actually have to do something. Okay, so Bernie Sanders is absolutely correct on that. Look, if Democrats actually serve their constituents better, then there, yes, wouldn't be room for somebody like Donald Trump to have come in with their big false promises. Okay, and that's just a reality. That's just a fact. There's more. Jocelyn Ayers, a retail worker in Harrisburg, told HuffPost, quote, "I'm worried for myself and for my other friends who look like me. Because people are getting deported who aren't even criminals or anything at all. They just go, oh, that's what you look like? Put you in the gulag. It's awful. It's terrible." But it's absolutely true. It's exactly what's happening. Okay. And then Nancy McCallion, a nurse from Harrisburg, said, quote, "I can't watch the news anymore. It's unreal to me that the Congress is laid down and given up all responsibility. It's mind-blowing." Is it surprising to me? No, not at all. The fact that Republicans are, completely laying down for Donald Trump, an authoritarian strongman, doesn't surprise me at all. Republicans were always looking to bow down to a daddy figure, strong man. Come on. This is from the RNC.
You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
That's in the context of America. Now, America's been a bad girl, so we've got to have daddy come back and spank her. Yeah, that is definitely Tucker Carlson's thinly veiled fetish. Okay. I don't think having a fetish is a bad thing, but just don't bring it into your politics, okay? But yes, they want to bow down to him. They love a strong man, okay? Donald Trump is probably one of the weakest strong men, but then again, they kind of are. They just really are. But anyway, this is a great example of why the Democratic strategy of courting Republicans was never going to be effective. Not only did they target people who were never going to show up to vote for Democrats anyway, in the process, they alienated their own base, who didn't show up. They would have showed up had they had something to vote for, but instead, they would the Democratic Party would rather say, well, we're going to focus all of our efforts in turning out the mythical, moderate Republican who is going to come over the aisle. They're going to come over and they're going to vote for us. No, they're not. No, they're not going to do that. Okay. And so, look, I agree with Bernie Sanders. I think Democrats should have done a lot more. And they can still start. Okay. They can start now. What do they need to do then? They need to kick out the Biden staffers. The people that said to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, go to the right. Kick those people out. They should never be in politics again. Kick out the consultants class, okay? Get rid of all of them. Anyone who's involved in either loss to Donald Trump has to go. You gotta go. Secondly, stop taking corporate money. Just stop. Stop. And then step up to defend trans people, defend immigrants, and start taking big, bold positions on things that actually matter, like the economy, taxing rich people. It's massively popular. Universal health care, universal child care. Bring this country into the 21st century along the lines of other industrialized countries. If you actually do that, the Democrats will not only win, but they'll keep on winning and winning and winning. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. is patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.